1 minute early for all those keeners out there. We are going to reconvene our meeting of October 18th, 2023, which started today at 5:30. We went into a closed session with no additions to the agenda for legal matters, section 17(1)A and 17(1)B3. We came out of that closed session at 6:18 with no motions arising from that session, purely information. And we are now continuing on with our regular meeting. The town of Turner Valley would like to acknowledge the traditional territory, Diamond Valley. I gotta say, we should put the $5 pot.
In front of you.
Yeah, we should put the in front of me, yeah.
We should put the $5 pot out, so whenever you say the town of Black Diamond or Turner Valley, you get your $5 taken. Okay, the town of Diamond Valley, in writing, as I read it, acknowledges the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, members Siksika, Kainai, and Kainai First Nations, the Stoney Nakoda, Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley First Nations, the Dene of Tsuut'ina First Nations, Métis Region 3, and all those that make Treaty 7 lands their home, which is all of us. All right, 5.1 minutes of the regular meeting for October 4th, 2023. Can I get a motion for those? Councillor Martin gives me that. Any errors, omissions, clarifications? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Question period. Question period is a 15-minute section of the council meeting, which we have for the public to ask questions of council or administration to points of clarity. You can email, text, call, bump into a councillor on the road, or wave them down like Mike did. Just don't run them over. Mike came tonight and he has a question, and I will not read it because it is blank, because Mike likes to tell us his question. So Mike, please.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, my name is Mike King. I'm a taxpayer in the town of Diamond Valley, and I have a slight problem. And it's to do with the defunding of our peace officers. We have not had, in the last, give a month or two, we've not had a full slate of peace officers on the street. And hearing through the grapevine that we are going to stay at a 25% reduction in peace officers. That's where we're at right now, because we only have 2.75 out there. And at one time we had 2 in Turner Valley, 2 Black Diamond. Crime's not going down, and it won't in the future. We back up on peace officers and we don't keep the streets. The more vision that you have for law enforcement, the less crime you have. And us and Citizens on Patrol, Gary's the president of Citizens on Patrol. We go out there. I don't like seeing one officer less. It bothers me because a long time ago when I first moved to this place, they were getting too far back. 1979, we fought to get peace officers in Black Diamond. And now I see them, when we got them all up, they're going away. And I have to tell you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, I respect, again, all the work that you do. I respect what's happening on the amalgamation. It's been handled very well by us all. That one there sticks in my craw. So anyways, I've had my say. Thank you for your time. And I hope the right decision is made to get another officer. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I think rather than respond to your query, the next delegation is going to address exactly that, and that's going to open the door for some conversation. So if you stick around, I think you're going to hear a little bit of supporting mindset.
Thank you.
You betcha. Okay, thank you, Mike. Moving on. Oh, yeah, did we receive any? Sorry. Did we receive any emails, texts, phone calls?
Chair Mayor, no, we have not.
All right, thank you. Well, now we do have motions for the question period.
No, we'll deal with it after delegations. Okay, delegations, 8.1, Alberta Summer Games, Miss Sandy Kennedy. Yep, we've got 2. And you can just hit the little red button there and that'll be perfect. Good to see you ladies again. Thank you for coming all the way from Okotoks here. And High River. Well, it's an extra 40K, you know. Just moved. Got the little cheaper house there and a little less taxes. Is that the reason?
We'll go with that.
There you go. Okay, I'll give you the floor. Please introduce yourselves for the gallery and we'll go from there.
Good evening. My name is Marika and I'm the General Manager of the Alberta Summer Games. My purpose this evening is to give you a recap of what happened from the 20th to the 23rd, but also an understanding of what happened over the past 3 years. We had an incredible team of 18 directors working for 3 years through COVID to plan, manage, operate a highly successful games. We enlisted the support of 72 chairs and over 1,100 volunteers. We'd like to especially thank the staff from the towns of Okotoks and Diamond Valley, the school division staff from Foothills and Christ the Redeemer, the private facility staff, and games office staff. Special call out also to the Western Wheel, who are also available to cover all aspects of the game. They provided stories, photos, offered help and suggestions. They helped us a lot to promote the games. Thanks to the many council members who volunteered and participated. Many thanks to Mayor Crane, Deputy Mayor Brendan Kelly for their help, support, and presence during the games. We'd also like to acknowledge the help and support of the 2 staff liaisons from Diamond Valley, Les Quinton and Monique LeBlanc. Also, a shout out to Dave Turnbull and Jeff Reichs. They were the 2 consultants from the provincial government who worked with us. Some facts and figures for you. I could give you all of the transportation, but pertaining to Diamond Valley, we had 2 buses and drivers dedicating for the 3 days. We delivered lunches for the venues through courtesy vehicles. And the last day, all of the volunteers gathered next to the buses to see the athletes off. It was such a cool moment when everybody was waving and cheering. It really was impressive. The athletes certainly appreciated it. Excuse me, the communication with transportation for this event was excellent, both from the town and the venue staff. Thank you for being great hosts. Fun facts from food. On Thursday, we had 3,000 people having an evening snack. On Friday, 400 box lunches, and on Saturday, 1,000 box lunches. The food center meals. 1 meal service on Thursday for 3,000. 3 meal services on Friday of 2,500 participants. On Saturday, 2,100 participants for 3 meal services. And on Sunday, 2,700 for 1 meal service. It was an extended brunch. Special diets that were accommodated. Celiac, gluten-free, lactose, dairy-free, vegetarian, vegan, halal, no pork, no shellfish, no peanuts or nuts. You can imagine feeding 3,000 athletes such a varied dietary restrictions across the board. No one went away hungry. There were no issues, no concerns, no special needs that went unnoticed. We satisfied everyone. Volunteers, we had 1,360 volunteer assignments and an estimated 100 people walked up on volunteers during the 4 days of the games. People showed up with friends. They helped out in many different situations. However, we could not use them in any security sensitive since they weren't, they did not go through CRC checks to deal with kids, but they did help in green teams, food center, and facilities. We had 18 volunteer loungers scattered throughout all of the venues. We had 2 main lounges. We had hosted lounges and 16 help yourself for volunteers. These were appreciated and well received. Results of the volunteer survey. As a result of the games, did you feel a sense of community? 96% responded they had a good or strong sense of community due to their involvement. As a volunteer, did you feel valued? 85% felt very valued. Did you feel supported as a volunteer? 88% felt extremely supported. Would you volunteer again for an event like this? 92% said they would volunteer again. It was a great, wonderful experience. Mountain bike track. From Thursday to Sunday, there were 459 volunteer hours. 500 volunteers hours were spent on construction of the track. In addition, 250 hours were dedicated by John Nutt Brown, who envisioned the track and built it into a reality. Special thanks to Lee Bretzlaff, John Nutt Brown, Les Quinton, and Monique LeBlanc for their assistance and dedication to the project. Thank you to the towns for supporting this endeavor. Highlights of the games. Taste of Okotoks Heart of the Games collaboration. In collaboration with the town of Okotoks, the event doubled its revenue. Historically, Taste of Okotoks has $17,000 in revenue. Due to the games, they were up to $34,000. The Optimist Club at the Heart of the Games provided a scavenger hunt for visitors and community. There were also games, crafts, demonstrations, nooks and crannies, and generally a whole lot of fun that people took advantage of and experienced. Some serious rocking happened at the evening concert. Opening ceremonies. The Dog Stadium was filled to capacity with athletes, technical officials, VIPs, family, and friends. There was an incredible performance by Spectacle Blue that engaged both athletes and guests. It was an aerial circus performance. The Torch celebration. Wonderful engagement from both communities to kick off the games thanks to the support of ATCO. The events, all venues were exceptional. Great shape, wonderful condition. Athletes were able to compete on first-class fields and facilities. A few venues, such as swimming, were limited by capacity seating, but a process was put in place to allow the majority of spectators an opportunity to see their athlete compete. Other venues, such as canoe kayak, were wide open to both paid spectators and the general public, which made these events enjoyable, excitable, and engaged the total community. Medal presentations were done on site immediately after events. A number of individuals, donors, sponsors, municipal officials, sports dignitaries presented medals to much deserving athletes. Concluding comments. Both communities can be extremely proud of all of your efforts to create safe, inclusive, and wonderfully engaging games for all participants. A good mix of sport and culture with many memories and friendships for athletes, spectators, volunteers, and participants to enjoy over time and remember. On a personal note, I would like to thank the 2023 Summer Games Host Society for a fantastic experience and the opportunity to work with a varied, talented, and exceptional group of individuals, whether it was town staff, Okotoks and Diamond Valley, volunteers, directors, the business community, donors and sponsors, school boards, official staff, office staff, Government of Alberta. There were many challenges. There were a few speed bumps, but we faced them and we exceeded expectations while delivering, in my opinion, an exceptional experience for everyone, all participants, their families, their friends, spectators, and community. I would especially like to thank the lady seated beside me, Sandy Kennedy, for her unwavering support and her roll up the sleeves attitude. We got things done. We rocked the games. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to mention two things. I'll keep it very short. A terrific group was volunteered to make such a wonderful success. Working together was the theme, and each portfolio had to work together to make this happen. Could not work. We read reports given to us from other games and role played with directors asking what if such and such happened. Staff worked very well together with everyone. Directors' hard work and detail were worked out together under the leadership of our general manager and staff. Amazing group brought these skills together with the time and talent, such as transportation. She was a former Games, Commonwealth Games transportation person and the former Games of the Olympics in Vancouver transportation. So we came with some pretty high level directors. She laughed and said, "This is not my first rodeo." Communications Director, municipality, he's with the municipalities of Lethbridge, Medicine, Calgary, Red Deer, Edmonton, Grand Prairie. He gives all the phones, walkie-talkies for nothing and stepped up to the platter all the time. And George was Monique's brother. Here. Anyway, just so you know, security came with knowledge, food services more knowledgeable than you can imagine. Medical came with experience, sports directors had terrific background and on and on. We knew the importance of working cohesively and Les Clinton helping and attending all the meetings, writing from Diamond Valley each time with all the correct answers and questions answered all the time. We really appreciate too. It's a pleasure to work with these knowledgeable experts. So the budget, the high priority was to give the athletes the best games we could. Well, budgets were set, became moving targets as we progressed. An example, insurance was originally quoted at $90,000. Wow, I couldn't believe it. But our GM not only worked with each of the different companies that gave quotes, but she had meeting, got down to brass tacks with them. She read those policies inside out. She got it down to under 5,000. All directors were instructed to really consider their costs, and everyone worked hard to do this. Fundraising director, along with the GM and myself, went to lots of local companies. We had made 100 calls. The first follow-up was after COVID, and it was a little tough going. Then people got to understand to join our endeavor. Our business stepped up and gave us dollars and lots of gifts in kind. For example, Walmart paid and gave us some money, but then says, can we give you cones? Can we give you barricades? That sort of thing. So we didn't have to buy them. Andrew Gustafson gave us bike racks and things like that for brass triathlons and so on. Trucking companies gave us reefer trucks for food to be held in. And the town gate let us park the trucks all around the different areas for kayaks and bikes to be stored, canoes, that sort of thing. Gift in kind grew and grew, and so did the excitement of the town. The volunteers list grew where we had to take it off the site because we were getting so many volunteers before the event actually happened. All directors were trying to watch their budgets and events were happening, but we had to wait and see what would happen at the end of the day. We all wanted to give them a good experience of the summer games. The games are now over. The government report is completed. Every director's portfolio had to make a report. The budgets all came in. Books are getting closer to being audited. It's now another couple of months before we'll be able to close them off. Our casino funds are not completely finished either, so we haven't spent them yet. We were target on our budget, and we even exceeded the target. We were in budget, on budget, and exceeded it. We'd like to make the beach volleyball courts in Okotoks for legacy. And we're giving them the money back for what they spent there. So I have a check for Diamond Valley for $50,000 for the bicycle track. And if you would make
I have one for you. Heather.
we would like you to see you put a little sign up to say there's the legacy project from the Alberta Summer Games. Which you're going to spend the money where you want. The casino fund will be balanced and sports and money will be given to sports and related groups affecting our area because the casino funds haven't been spent yet. To be able to give it to different groups like kids sport and things like that. So those decisions have been made. The works are completed. So further announcements will come about distribution for the funds. An independent accountant will be completed a review of an audit. And we want to thank Les again. He did a great job for you. Thank you, Les. We really appreciate having you here. Well, it's been a pleasure that you stepped up to the platter and joined us. Thank you very much. I'm glad that it's not going to cost you a lot of money now.
That is amazing news.
Marika, that is fantastic. And I attended all the after party seminars that you guys put on. We're gonna have to get a little picture with this. And I just have a mural. I came prepared. Just take a picture, shall we? I think.
Yeah, sure.
Let's get you right here in front of all the council with this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Let's get everything right there. We can wait. Yeah, everybody get it right there. I think you're gonna see it. I'll come down to your right.
Okay, guys, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thank you one more time. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anytime you wanna come, you come.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Our pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, wow.
Thanks for everything. Yeah. You guys rocked it.
He respects you, want to hire you. That's amazing. Seriously, that's good.
300,000.
So congratulations. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for driving safe. Sandy is driving with you. Okay. Yes. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, I will say this, normally I like to cut off delegations after 5 minutes, you know. In this case, I'm really happy I kept my mouth shut.
I was gonna say, if Chris got 50 grand.
Yeah, Chris said you got 50 grand. That's gonna be just icing on the night, but I don't think you got 50 grand for it. Absolutely. Sandy is gone. So 8.2 traffic concerns, Chris Chow. So Chris, I'm gonna have you come up to the center. And anyone else who wants to attend with you. I will say this, I know most of you guys are here to support Chris, so thank you for coming. It is very nice, believe it or not, to see people in the audience coming to meetings to express concerns. And of course, I saw your concern on Facebook and made my comment, but I'm gonna let you present your comment because it aligns with Mr. Mike King's question as well. So
Absolutely.
the floor is yours. Please, take all the time you need.
First of all, Mr. Mayor, councilors, good to see everybody. It was actually nice to see Mr. King step up and kind of have this as a whole meeting, what we're talking about as well. And yes, we've noticed that ever since amalgamation, bylaw officers are pretty far and few between. I understand, you know, budgets, I understand all that stuff. But we've got a problem on Third Street in Black Diamond. Basically between Second and all the way up into Riverfront. Right up even past, you know, their places. We've got speeding and stop sign running daily, nightly, morning, noon and night. And we understand that the police officers can't be there all the time. When they are there, they're there, but they're only giving out warnings. I don't understand the warning thing. If you've broken the law, you've broken a traffic violation, give them a ticket. I had already talked to Matt about it. We had a meeting. And I said I wanted to bring it up to council. And basically, this is all of Third Street here between Second and Third Avenues. And we're kind of we're done with it. It's brutal. I did send in a video. I posted a video on Facebook, and that's just one. You know, that's just one day sitting there, and all of a sudden, okay, he's doing a burn up. Let's just do a quick video. And did 5 or 6, but I mean, one is, as far as I'm concerned, enough. In a playground zone, you can see the black tire marks, and we have really nothing marking anything there. There's a playground zone, that's it. The stop sign's this big, and that intersection's kind of weird. It's kind of odd, especially if you're coming north on Third. Coming north on Third, you stop here, you gotta kind of jaunt out and go. But that's not the problem. The problem is the speed coming into the stop sign and we're running that stop sign. And it's not just kids, it's hockey moms, it's hockey people, it's curling people, it's everybody. School people, school bus drivers, the DHL guys, the Amazon guys, the big trucks, and why we're having 18 meters come down. Third is beyond me. They got government that could go down. So we know the problem. The solution, and as far as we're kind of concerned, and the cheapest way to do it is speed hump, not speed bump, because they can't plow over speed bump. With the larger speed humps coming in and going out. As one RCMP officer said, do all the Third. People stay away from the government, go down an avenue. It's just ever since Riverwood opened up, you know, I've lived on that street, in that house for 15 years. And almost got T-boned by a friend the other day, an older gentleman, but I was turning right at Kent's place from Third Ave onto Third Street. And I seen him coming up and I'm turning right and all of a sudden he's right at my door. I'm like, oh, he jumped and I'm beating the horn, pulled him over and he gets out, what are you doing? I said, what are you doing, man? You ran a stop sign. See, I don't know, larger sign, blinky blinky, I don't know. Paint on the road, something's gotta change. I mean, enforcement is one thing,
We're giving out warnings.
but, and it makes that, right? I mean, they're only giving warnings. A warning is a warning, you know, don't do that again, I'll get you. Then you do it again, I didn't catch it. I don't know, it's frustrating. So I would definitely like, if we could get an answer from council, you know, in a couple of weeks of what we can do about it. You guys got 50 grand, now we could do a couple speed bumps.
Meetings to the bike track, you know, speed bump. No, I totally agree, Chris. Your Facebook post was spot on and, you know, probably footing was right there. You can't deny it. And it is, my wife reminds me, it's a playground zone every time I drop her off at school. It's a hidden sign back on a post next to a tree, half the time covered. But what we can do is we do have a pedestrian safety task force that we kind of shelved for a while. Because we didn't want to get too far into amalgamation without addressing everybody's needs.
Right.
But I think this is a great platform to now bring that back to life. We're actually doing our org chart, so organizational committees tomorrow. So that is now something that we can look at reinvigorating the pedestrian safety task force. And we want members of the public to be on that committee.
Right.
We did it in Turner Valley 7 years ago, I think. Some of the things got implemented, some didn't, so we need to do Diamond Valley.
Right.
So I would say that is this would be one of our first things we can look to address. We can talk to our bylaw. Look at how we're gonna increase our enforcement along the school. Brendan sent out an email, I think, right before the school started saying, can we please be proactive with the school zone? So this is falling into the puzzle that we need to do something. So I think we got the message loud and clear and we will.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. School going one thing, but then there's the playgrounds out there just past my house. You know, and. Like,
Question for you.
Yeah.
And unless anyone has a comment, I'd open it to the council. Yeah, go ahead.
I live in the same area and I live in Riverwood and I think a lot of people fail to understand when they're leaving. They drive past the rink if you're going south. Riverwood is still 30.
Yeah.
And everyone flies through that stop sign and under the assumption of the guys that it's a 50, they're doing 60 or plus. And I've had multiple conversations with residents. When Officer Barry was with us, I spoke to him heavily about this and it's been a concern. I've been in that area for 8 years now in Riverwood. And I hear you guys loud and clear. I'm a resident in the same area, as is Councillor Thompson. And we're gonna get something done here.
Awesome. Thank you guys
Yeah.
very much. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet. Anyone else, council? Comment? Heather?
Yeah, I'm at the end of that. They charge by there and my big thing is the summer is motorcycles. It's horrible. But I think that one of the things we need to look at is a consistent miles per hour throughout Black Diamond, you know, like it's not consistent 50. There's some 30 zones that isn't near a playground or whatever. So that needs to be addressed, plus the signage is huge. And some bylaw or some peace officer enforcement has to happen. I see the peace officers down at the school all the time. But, you know, either end doesn't get looked at. They're focused on the school and the school ground, which is fine. It's 30 through there. But that 30 goes all the way up to the hill. So I think a consistent 40 miles per hour or kilometers per hour. Like Turner Valley is, except for on the Alberta Transportation Roadways. And then the playground zones and school zones are 30, period, you know? So it's not distinguished. You go up Third Avenue and it says it's a play or school zone. Then you go through the school zone and all of a sudden you're in a playground zone and you kind of go, there is no playground. So, you know, and the signage is horrible.
It is. It's pretty historic.
Yeah.
Councillor Holly. And then Councillor Brendan.
Since we have Craig here tonight, how long would it take to transfer over? I know all of council has always been on the agreement that 40 kilometers an hour on Diamond Valley East is the direction we wanted to go. How big of a process, how long would that take?
If I may, the chair, that's actually a municipal enforcement question. So it would require revision to the bylaw, to the traffic bylaw. And it's like any other process, so it would probably take start to finish. Would you say I go to Bruno on this one, probably 3 months, maybe that's.
Alright, but the signage, I guess, would be the thing, because you can't do signage.
Right.
Can you do signage over the winter time? What's our,
So the immediate answer to that, and we would like to speak to a few of these items, would be that first of all, it has been patrolled. And all along Third Street, we're very, very cognizant of the issue and have dealt with a number of residents and are working towards solutions with that. As you know, that we have been stretched in terms of resources, but nevertheless, some of the short-term answers, and I would refer to Mr. Reedon for this, would be increasing the existing signage, but we could not change the messaging on that signage until such time as the bylaw is revised or changed. So those can go in tandem though. And certainly if it's something that council is looking at, then we can get it in front of you as soon as we can provide that. But in the past, there's been some resistance and really timing. There were a number of other bylaws that had a priority over this one, but time is coming that we can look at it soon.
Okay, well, can I say something?
Did-
Well,
I'm gonna let it go through Chris, but I'm gonna let it, because I did see you say you. Go ahead.
Well, just the fact that I've been home for the last few weeks. And I've watched them enforce it since people had a talk with Matt. They've been out there every day and only giving out warnings. So it's okay, the hockey moms is the one thing. Okay, but it's the kids that go to that school in certain vehicles that do it every day, like every day. And they're not there at the right time. And when they are there, they're just giving out a warning. You need to give out a ticket so they can tell their friend and their friend. But if you're gonna give out warnings, it's really not doing anything. And that's all I really want to say is, I've watched them. They've been out there like every day in the last 2 weeks, almost every day. And, you know,
We can hear your frustration.
okay,
Totally get it. We're gonna deal with it.
appreciate it.
Awesome.
Do you have one more question, you said?
No, we have some motions that we need to make up here. So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for all attending and taking the time out of your day to come. Please feel free to stay around. But no further comments. We're gonna make some motions. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, just to preface this, council, there's a few things we can do. In regards to this, we can ask for a revision to the bylaw, an amendment to be brought back. We can ask for the 40 km per hour to be instituted across all Dog Valley. Yeah, that'll.
I want to. Speak.
All right, so why don't we go with Deputy Mayor first, who's gonna address signage and 40 km, and then you can follow up with the speed. Okay,
can do that one.
we can do all,
Let's do this.
it's all, yes, do this, and then we'll do Summer Games. Okay, all right, Brendan, you're up.
So, I'd like to, I'm talking to the speed bumps or to the 40.
40 is signage.
Speed humps, sorry, not speed bumps. Thank you. You're gonna take care of the humps, right?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you start us off?
All right, first of all, if we can scroll back up to see the speed humps, I think that would be ideal for everyone to see what we're talking about. Thank you so much for coming. There's so many people interested in that. That means a lot to have you attend our council meeting. So thank you. I'd like to direct administration to provide a request for decision to install a number of speed humps yet to be determined, painted markings, and flashing red stop signs where appropriate along Third Street, along with the proper signage that has been indicated by this group. That's the first motion. So to request, to direct administration to provide a request for decision to install a certain number of speed humps, painted markings, and flashing red stop signs where appropriate. I think that covers the signage request. On Third Street. Yeah, that request for decision is budget area, right?
Ms. Milton.
Yeah, I just have clarification through the chair. Counselor Gordon, so is there a specific number? Are you looking for us to provide administration's recommendation? And my other question is if we do happen to decide we're gonna do this on one street, now we're going to be obligated that if another delegation comes forward, we're gonna have to do it on another street. So we need to be prepared to talk about what that's gonna cost from a financial perspective. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that insight, CAO Middleton. I think with the request for decision, if, not trying to direct admin exactly how to write it, but I would suggest that would be included in that request for decision, the challenges that we may see, and the barriers to actually following through with that, so that we have a community-wide perspective on that. As well, I would imagine there'd be a cost, preliminary cost estimate included in that as well. That's why it would be a request for a decision, right? So that we have all the relevant data to ensure that your needs are met and discussed around the council table.
Okay, any question on the intent of the motion? Heather?
Yeah, I just wonder if it is appropriate with an RFD, because staff is gonna help me come back with a bunch of information, including costs.
That RFP, then a request for
And I
proposal.
wonder if it shouldn't be a staff report. Bringing back all the information so that then we can move forward with any decisions during budget, really.
To me, at this point, it's a matter of linguistics or semantics. If it's a staff report, it's a staff report. We're gonna make a motion coming out of it. If it's an RFP, we're gonna make a motion coming out of it anyway. So whichever one is best for admin to work through to provide the necessary information so we can give appropriate discussion at the time. That's what we're looking for. Because I'm noting that we're not making the decision to install. I want the request back of information to see where we're at.
Can we add?
So it doesn't, so CAO said it doesn't really matter whether it's a staff report or an RFP.
Good, can you throw a date on that, please?
Response. First meeting in
Yeah.
December, to give us a month of almost
Six
6 weeks to work on that, please. And it should be, it would be, yeah.
Okay. Cindy, did I see a comment from you or
Yeah.
Brendan?
We did deal with something similar on the Turner Valley side a few years back with requests along Edward and so I just need to make sure that this is completely open because we might not have the right, like staff needs to give their input. My only concern with it is because we have the pedestrian safety task force information in Turner Valley making the decisions, you don't have that on the Black Diamond side. And we don't want to put the cart before the horse. I think enforcement needs to be the number one. The tickets, like actual tickets, like if it's a school zone, actual ticket. Installing things and I think we do need to be more holistic on the whole Diamond Valley side, because there's Third Street, there's school zones on the whole blocks, right? And I'm sure there's other people that would like to have something to say about that. So I'd rather, strike that committee for next year, or for the org meeting for this next year. I would like a report from admin, but I want it more open-ended on just traffic measures, including enforcement. Not just
one text with one student and a full school knows there's enforcement.
Well, yeah, one ticket. It's probably gonna be my daughter, so I have to be having a conversation.
We got a handle on this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, as a parent, absolutely.
Yeah,
Having conversations.
I totally understand Councillor Albany, and I don't oppose that. I think if we get a proper report back, whether it's a staff report or request for decision, we can determine, this is much a bigger conversation than just one street.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we could broaden it to traffic taming measures in the school zone, not just related to Third.
Okay.
But, and not just physical things, but enforcement included in that report as well. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah, we can.
To include more holistic and information, on what this task force might do going forward. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty construction nuts and bolts. I want to get into what can we do from admin's perspective, reporting back on enforcement as well as physical use. So that's my thoughts.
There's two things going on here. We have the go forward, get some budget numbers, and then we have the immediate, what can happen that we have resources for, which is where you're going, and that's the main concern. And I think that's exactly what Min is hearing loud and clear is we need some action.
This delegation in a month.
And we've got the proactive, let's get a plan, a long-term solution happening right away. So any further questions on Councillor Gordon's motion first, so we can vote?
If I may. Just on behalf of the COP.
No,
Okay.
I got you guys, a motion coming for you guys next too. All in favor? Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Vernon,
I kind of blended your motion, if that's okay. So let me know if I caught everything. So the council directed administration to provide an RFD for reporting and recommendations on installing speed bumps or speed humps, painted marking and flashing stop signs where appropriate in school areas, including enforcement costs and challenges for the first meeting in December. I get everything for both of you?
Craig Sutton.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Through the chair, Mayor Crane, perhaps instead of speed humps and other measures, can we exchange that phrasing for traffic calming measures?
No.
Give you more options.
Okay.
That's broader.
Yeah.
That'll give us more content. I agree.
I will take that from you, Min, from
Okay.
Mr. B.
All right. That's what Gary Roundtree was gonna say.
Thanks anyway.
Okay. Good? All in favor? Okay, Deputy Mayor, you have a motion.
Yeah, might need some help with it after the vote we just went through. I would just like to see, the 40 kilometers an hour. I don't know if that's gonna come through an RFD or just an admin. We just need to see the bylaw, but so Old Turner Valley has the 40 kilometers throughout, other than the highway. I'd like to see the same thing in the east side of Diamond Valley, Old Black Diamond. So however you'd like to rate that one up. We've got Willow Ridge and Riverwood are like 30 kilometers. We've got the rest of town being 50 kilometers, school zone and the parks 30 kilometers. I'd like to see it all 40 minus the school zone and the park places. That would stay 30.
Could I just recommend that we be directed to align the traffic bylaws?
Yes,
Because that's really where that's got to come in.
please. Yeah,
Is that sufficient? Okay, if you're good with that.
I am more than good with that.
That covers the base, I think.
Yeah.
That Council's looking for.
Yeah.
Heather.
I think we have to look at costs to that because we're gonna have to buy a bunch of signs and that kind of stuff. So that has to be included in budget. As Turner Valley have to do too, so it's not as simple as just changing the bylaw. There are costs that are related to it. Changing all the 50K signs and adding better signage through school zones, et cetera.
Verna, how long would be appropriate? Is the 1st of December too early for that? I don't think that would necessarily, with the weather. Yeah, that's fine. I see it. Yeah, we can look maybe early in the new year because with the weather in the winter, I mean, we're hopefully not gonna be dealing with a lot of speeding through the side streets anyways, but.
Yeah, those are like really big and really different bylaw.
If we could see it sometime in the early new year, that would be,
We'll make it a priority.
thank you very much.
Bring it as quick as we can.
Okay. He's made that motion.
Yeah.
Heather's just stretching her legs. And I'm looking for any comments. Everyone clear on the motion? Alignment, bylaws?
Yeah.
All in favor? Excellent, thank you. Now regarding Mr. Lake. Old Legacy, yeah, go ahead and do that one.
Okay, final one coming out. I'd like to make a motion to have where are we gonna have the sign put up? Do they want it by the mountain bike track? That's where they want the sign for the legacy project of Alberta 2023 Summer Games.
I would think next to the memorial plaque on the entrance.
Okay,
Memorial on one side, that one, and the other would be great.
okay.
Rock, so yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to direct administration to get together a plaque, using part of the $50,000, donated by the Alberta Summer Games, for the Legacy Project of Alberta 2023 Summer Games. To be put up at a determined location somewhere around the mountain bike track. What do you guys think? 3,000. Not to exceed $3,000. Which leaves us with a wholesome 47,000 to invest in the community. That's fantastic.
Okay, up to everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Everybody's
3,000.
good with that one?
It doesn't have to be electric or anything.
All in favor?
Vern, was that one okay? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Now, I'm not sure, I wanted to address Mr. Mike King's presentation during question period. We do have staff here, but I'm thinking along the lines that it might be more appropriate to have a detailed report from bylaw presented at the next council meeting. We are rolling into budget, so I don't want to double up work for bylaw. So they're going to be bringing their budgets, their presentation in the next weeks.
It's fine, Mr. Mayor.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay, because really, we are delving right into the exact areas that you're talking about. That is exactly where we're headed right now. So you're just 2 weeks off of us having detailed conversations exactly regarding the issue. So it's great that as a council, we can hear from residents for once. Unlike when we had a flood mitigation seminar, we had 3 people show up over 3 open houses. We have speakers, we have community saying we have a problem. This is what council wants to see. Engagement that we can clearly say we have been given a message, now act on it. So it is really good that you guys came tonight. So that's all I can tell you. So I'll leave that till budget, which is coming in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And we'll deal with it from there. Okay. All right. So moving on. Thank you, everyone. Delegations and motions arising from are done. Thank you for attending, for those that are leaving. Bylaws and policies, 9.1 bylaw 2023-17 services bylaw. And Miss Vern, I believe this is you. Just have to open up my little hard copy here. Excellent. Am I starting to saying that? Yes, it is. Bernie, you can have the floor if you wish.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. So this bylaw is before council for consideration of second and third readings. It got first reading in September. We delayed bringing it forward because we needed a little more time to do some public participation, get some information out about the plan. So we just held it back to make sure that we had done a job of that and got the word out a little bit. Council had a few questions about the bylaw when it came forward at first reading, so I tried to kind of compile some of that there. The one thing I really couldn't do was address Councillor Gordon's request to actually put the title in there, because the title is the definition that shows up in there. It's very, very long. So it is defined by its title because it tells you what it is. And so I left it in the way that it was. So I hope that that is sufficient and maybe better explained this time as well. There were some questions about cybersecurity and the web portal coming out. And so I think I've addressed all of those. I did go in and find what kinds of things are available on the web portal. It's not to say that we will actually connect all of those, but there are lots of different possibilities for options as we get started with a portal anyway, to maybe gradually increase those things that are available as well to the public to help them find the information they want when they want it on their own time schedule rather than 8 to 4:30. So hopefully that'll work out well for folks. And that portal is still not ready to go. It will take some time and it probably won't happen until into the new year.
And just to be clear, it requires a secure login from every individual who has a tax number. So
Yes.
it's not like you can just scroll up and I wonder what the neighbor's paying in taxes.
Correct. You would only access your own information
That's right.
unless it's already public information in some other venue.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Hazel.
When you say that, Verna, would that be like going through your GIS? You know, where if you can log into the GIS system, you can see what the assessment is on that property.
So assessments are public information, and so the assessments are, we post the roll to the website anyway, so that probably would be available. I don't know what it looks like, so I hesitate to be too detailed in that. But that information is available through multiple other venues anyway. So if it's available on the portal, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Could I just ask one question?
Mhm.
So if you go to item 6.6. Will residents who choose not to opt in have the same access to tax related information as those who have opted in to receive electronic communication?
If I can answer that?
Please.
No, they will not electronically. They will still receive their paper copies though.
Okay, but
Absolutely.
could they go in and check their information?
Yes, if, so by setting up your own secure login account, you are basically, we don't need your consent. You've chosen to go and do it yourself.
So it'd be just like tick the box if you wish to receive electronic communication.
Directly from us via email. Yes.
Okay? But you don't have to.
Nope. Not once the portal is set up, then you have options.
Wonderful.
You bet.
Thank you.
Councillor Holiday.
I'm happy with it. Good work on it. I think it will be good for residents going forward. So I'm happy to give the motion that council give bylaw 2023-17 e-services bylaw a second reading.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, once, twice, 3 times a lady, all in favor? And that is carried. Can I get a third?
All right.
Thanks, Councillor Gordon.
I'm good.
That council give bylaw 2023-17 its third and final reading.
Thank you. Any comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you, council.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Verna. Okay, utility rate, 10.1 action items, 2024 utility rates approval. Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for attending. Gary, you can text me if you want.
Well, it had to do with what you guys were discussing. We're good.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
sounds good. All right, take care. Okay, who would like to present here? I have Lisa. Would you like to come up here? You want to do it from there? You can do it from there.
Sure.
Oh, there's fine. You got your coffee. I see you're comfortable. All right, go ahead.
Okay, this RFP is just looking for council to consider approving the 2024 utility rate that will be incorporated into the bylaw. This will allow administration to get the bylaw in order if we're looking for a January 1 implementation. We need to get the bylaw in front of you quickly. And the rates are needed for the budget. And they are the rates that were in my presentation, and I have attached them here for your reference.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Councillor Holiday first.
Yeah, the last meeting that we talked about utility rates in September, I had some questions about, you know, some of the large users and actual numbers of how it's gonna look. And I haven't seen any of those yet. So and we're doing budget tomorrow night. I've heard from council, we're not supposed to talk about that yet. But can this wait, is what I'm asking, until we can talk more about budget tomorrow? Or is this? Yeah, I was really concerned about the large users and seeing actual, like, what this is gonna look like for somebody using this much water, you know, and each side and understanding better some of those.
Yeah, let's go to Ms. Middleton. Ms. Middleton.
So if I may, through the chair, Councillor Holiday, so I just want to be cautious in that we don't have a lot of like significant water users that are gonna have a huge impact on what the final outcome is going to be as far as the consumption rates. We can decide to bring them back but the longer we delay it, the less time we have to work on the physical bylaw. So if we start to push those boundaries and those timelines back, it could have an impact on our ability to get it done at December 31st, but we will take direction from council.
Council, I open the floor to you, Heather.
I thank you. I just have a question. Why would a public communication come before we pass the utility rate? I just really would like to see. To me, if we pass the utility rates tonight, then we are gonna listen to the community if they have any questions or anything like that. I'm not comfortable with passing the rates until we have started the communications and finalized the communications, and I would personally like to see a town hall. So I appreciate all the work that's gone into this and the time frame and everything, but something this important, we can't just ask and think that we're gonna get away with it. We talked about, we don't want any misinformation out there. Well, you know, we haven't done any public communication at all, so how are we gonna stop misinformation? So I don't agree with going forward with passing the utility rates until we've had some communications completed.
So thank you. Corinne, go ahead.
So if I may, through the chair, Councillor Thompson, the only thing I get concerned about is if we're going to full cost recovery of our utility, the rates will have to reflect the full cost of the utility. So if we're engaging public participation, our expectation from administration side is it's an education. If the intention is to engage residents because we want their opinion of the rates, then that's going to absolutely delay our ability to adjust the utility rates effective January 1.
Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, thank you, Corinne, for that. That's not really, it is about education, but I don't know that we need to educate the people why we're going to full cost recovery. And if we don't do that, we're gonna get all kinds of misinformation out there. And so we might not necessarily change our rate at all, and it won't be, it'll be about education. And the town hall would be about education. It wouldn't be about changing the rates. I just am very, very uncomfortable with going forward with a change as substantial in the utility rates where we haven't actually told the people why. So many people don't understand, well, right now, your utility rates are being subsidized by your taxes. Lots of people don't understand that, so we need to. Just me, I don't want to see this go forward until we've actually had some communications.
I hear you. Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Cook.
I hear both sides of this. However, we gave direction to administration to implement full cost recovery. If we start backtracking on this, well, the education part's gonna come. Like if, unless we're not going full cost recovery, the numbers of full cost recovery, these are the numbers of full cost recovery. That's what we asked administration to do. So I understand the education piece. Unfortunately, that's gonna come after potentially we do this, but that's where I stand.
Councillor Gordon and Councillor Holiday.
Yeah, I love this discussion we're having because it's very impactful for our residents and we can't dodge the bullet on that one. Admin, you've done a great work. If I can directly through the chair, Lisa, thank you so much for the detail and really the clarity, spot on. The concern I do have, I share with Councillor Holiday, is the actual financial impact that will be. We have these rates, but what does that mean for the end user? One thing that I've asked that hasn't been completely clarified is how much of the 2023 budget is fully subsidized. We had a couple of different floating numbers. I don't know if you finalized those numbers, but I would love that to be told before we actually approve the rates, because then we can see what we're starting to offset. The public engagement plan for me, speaking to Councillor Thompson, I fully understand where you're coming from and I understand that concern. I want to have the real numbers to give them before we implement them so that then our communication plan says this is what we plan on doing. We want this effective January 1st. This is what we're going to be expecting. And if the town gets in an uproar and they're better and want our property taxes subsidizing them, then we have to listen to the town, guys. That's really what it boils down to. Like, I want full cost recovery. I want us to see 1.2 million in reserves at the end of this full cost recovery because we have asset management to take care of. And, you know, I always refer back to a study in, I think, the mid-2000s that McGill University did on the value of infrastructure, and communities that do not invest in infrastructure do not move forward with economic development. We have to have that reserve in place. So that's on us to do that. It's part of our NGA requirement. I'm not sure we're ready to say tonight, yeah, let's approve the rates. I want to see some definitive numbers first. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Holiday.
Yes, I think it weakens our credibility as a council if we say we've already made the decision and now we're going to tell you about it. It puts us in a really difficult spot. And having, because yes, I can go through the numbers and calculate what it's going to be and compare it, but the average citizen needs it laid out. I use 20 cubic meters every 2 months and I live on this side of town versus I live on this side of town. And this is what it's going to look like, and how that goes over the 3 years, what it's going to look like. And the answer might be that it might be 4 years, or, you know, because we know we've got, you know, other huge tax increases or other things. Like, we have to, I'd like to look at the budget and like the entire budget before we go over it. But I get it from the admin side. It would just be easy to get going, and we need it for January. You would like it for January 1st, but I think it puts us in a really bad spot with the public telling them we've already made the decision. That it's already, and and full cost recovery, like you look at a $700,000 to replace a pipe through the river. Infrastructure isn't cheap. We're all sold on the side, on the idea that we need that, and we're all on the same team, I think. But I haven't made a decision whether, you know, 3 years is the way to go, especially if we have to do a huge tax increase this year because of the budget. You know, maybe we do want to extend it over, or like someone said, it's, you know, some people might like better. Maybe we need to go into the monthly billing instead of bi-monthly to make it easier. So yeah, I would like more. I would like residents to know it before we make the decision, and to have it clearly laid out for them. This is exactly how much on average per month a regular, because we know what a regular household, they all kind of use about the same amount of water on average. So it's pretty easy to show it. And then obviously I would like to know some of those higher users exactly, like, is this a massive hit on the business? Yeah, because I think they should know about it before. Just, if we're supposed to be accountable to the people.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, CAO Middleton.
So if I may, through the chair, so if I'm understanding correctly, we have provided some of this information. So is the intention from administration that you want us to bring it back? So we've brought comparisons with respect to what the current rates are on in both communities and what the new rates would be. So that needs to come back. So I'm just trying to get clarity over what you want administration to bring back for review.
Councillor Clyburn.
How far in the process is administration for the communication component, public participation?
11.3, I almost feel like we should go to 11.3 to have that presentation, because I think there's relevant information in there that may answer some of our questions. So why don't we table this? Because there are more questions. Very obvious. It's a budget item that has huge implications. But I would like to get to 11.3 to hear that, and then maybe we can pick up some of the questions that we have at that point and come back through it. It'll be more productive, far more productive. So I'm going to take that motion, Councillor Gordon, to table 11.3 or 11.1.
Further discussion tonight.
Yeah, 10.1, sorry. Yeah, 10.1 is tabled till further in the agenda. Yeah. Able to be brought back. What's the one that
To bring back later today,
Just postpone it,
for later in the meeting.
reorder the agenda. We can do that too.
Make it 11. I'm just gonna postpone. Just postpone. We're gonna bring it back after 11.3 anyway. just so you know. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, good. 10.2, appointment of Director of Emergency Management. Our friendly neighborhood fire chief. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Sorry for my lack of attire. I just got off the plane, so.
Thanks for coming in. Both motion, yes, yeah, let's get this one rolling.
The council appoint T.G. Moore as Director of Emergency Management for the town of Diamond Valley, rescinding all prior appointments.
Clean, neat, tidy. Any concerns, council? Are you willing to take the position?
Perhaps.
Yeah. All right.
He's here tomorrow.
Better ask, right?
Yeah. Go on to the end sometimes.
I was given a choice by Sierra Willings.
There we go. All in favor? Thank you.
That council appoint Grant Spicer as the Deputy Director of Emergency Management for the town of Diamond Valley, rescinding all prior appointments. He's not here, so he can't ask.
Oh, yeah. I assume you had great conversations with your team.
That is correct, Mayor
And,
Council. Yeah,
Grant is good to go.
correct.
Excellent. Okay. Any concerns? All in favor? Excellent. Thank you. That's carried. There
Thank
go.
you, Mayor Council.
Thank you.
Thanks, TJ.
Moving on. Sure. What's your motion?
SSR, just flip the page.
Well, yeah, I gotta get to it first. Point 3, SSR re-emergency exit doors. Go ahead, Councilor Clark.
The council approved the replacement of the emergency exit doors to mitigate any liabilities to the town. To the tune of $13,000.
Excellent, thank you. Go ahead, Heather.
I just have a question. It's the Scott Seaman Arena only? Because one of the doors, it looks like is on the Oilfields Arena, is it? Just
Go ahead, Mr. B.
curious.
Through the chair, Councillor Thompson. Yes, that's a misprint. It's ORA, not the SSR. There's a 3 bank of doors that needs to be replaced and not in the stuff.
So both arenas kind of. Yeah, okay.
So we want to rephrase that. Okay.
Yeah, friendly amendment.
So it's the ORA.
I got it.
Okay, just to be clear. Exit doors. All in favor? Thank you. Heather, your microphone's still on. Yep. Assessment for subclass report. All right. There's an exciting one, Lisa. Hold on now, I gotta turn the page.
I'll give you a motion on that.
Give me a motion. Let's get this conversation started. 11.1.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a motion on the floor and appreciate your time in this. Certainly don't want to set any precedents, and feel as if, you know, we're just gonna continue on. So my motion is that administration, or I guess it's recommendation. That we just leave it as it is. That would be my recommendation or my motion, that we just leave it status quo. Yep, we just leave it there. And also that we send a letter to them. So that they're aware, because I think we're either outside that window or we're getting close to it in a month. Yeah, so if we could leave it status quo and send them a letter and let them know our decision.
All right, Councilor Gordon.
Yeah, I agree with the motion. I just have one question for administration. With all the moving pieces, since they own so much of their own infrastructure, how on earth could we even get there? Like, what would that formula look like? Would we have to calculate their own infrastructure, what the replacement costs are in comparison to what the rest of the town has, and then create a formula that reduces their mill rate? I mean, it's an insanely intense project is what I'm trying to get across, but I want to hear that from administration.
Ms. Lisa, would you like to respond to that one?
And you could use the word insane, I don't.
I do not have any sort of math off the top of my head, but I guess from my perspective, if you look at the mill rate, it is made up of a lot of pieces, not just infrastructure. And even when you start looking at, residents using other pieces of the town's infrastructure, it's very complicated. And in the research I did on this, most communities are moving, if they had this, are moving away. Where you see different mill rates is often in non-residential assessment classes, not residential assessment classes. So I can't give you, I couldn't even give you an estimate on it. I don't know, because it's such a complex, the mill rate is so complex to begin with, to try and actually come up with how, what their reduction would be, would be very difficult.
And it really, through the chair, it doesn't seem to be,
It'd be minimal.
it doesn't seem to be impacting their values.
No.
Or them owning their infrastructure, because my understanding is their assessments have, and the selling of those bungalows have gone up. So it doesn't seem to be impacting the value of
They
their
need to
homes.
charge more. So,
If I can, real quick, I think the point that,
be,
okay, sorry.
and then he might add value.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add, and I'm not adding to the tax rate, other than some of the comments, because I was here at the last meeting when they brought this issue forward. And how they claim not to be serviced by the town. As a courtesy and more of a protection of our own infrastructure, on an annual basis, I send my utility operators in there to flush and inspect their private hydrant on an annual basis. So we do that. We don't charge them back. We go in. I have worked many hours in that site personally with the president of both those condo sites side by side, helping them find curb stops, turning on and off water valves for them when they're having internal work done. And I'd like to also point out the road into that complex is, about 500 meters. And we plow that road very regularly. We sand that road. And they are tied directly into our services right then and there. So we do add quite a bit of a service value to that association.
Fully agree. Councillor Gordon.
Well said, Mr. Beaton. I mean, honestly, the services that they receive, to actually differentiate what they don't receive in comparison to what I do receive in Country Meadows, I would have to say at minimal at best. And I don't think they would see what they expect to realize as far as the tax savings is concerned. So once again, thank you very much for the work you've done on this, and your due diligence, I think, is to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. We have had some good debate. Anyone else burning desire? Seeing none, motion, option one. All in favor?
Including the letter to go to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Including letter. And that'd be a letter to every resident.
So really, it's all three recommendations.
Just the one?
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need
It's slightly
to,
different.
no, it was a choose one,
Okay.
yeah,
What blended?
because the rest automatically
What is the
is default. So,
Turn it in.
right,
Sorry, did you ask for a letter to every resident?
For the association.
One for the board, okay.
Up there.
Yes, gotcha.
Yeah, thanks for enough.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I ask, because number 3 is separate than 1 and 2, right? Because number 3 does deal with
I just
admin
wanted to,
requesting clear direction regarding the response.
I just wanted to send out a delegation.
Okay.
Like the board
The people
association.
that came in here.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, thanks.
okay, excellent, good conversation, guys. All right, Sheep River exposed water line crossing. Do we at least get some nice pictures up here of the river where you went swimming this year, Mr. Beaton? Did you? Okay. Go ahead, Hazel.
No, let Craig go first and then I'll ask a question.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I apologize, I did not. I couldn't find the picture. I did have some pictures and I couldn't find them on my computer.
Freeze. Oh, I thought you were gonna speak to it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've got the information. If there's nothing new to add, we can make our motion.
My apology.
Yeah.
The last staff report you jumped through and I was expecting to talk to it, so.
You know, last time we talked, it was you were gonna have it buried in.
Yeah,
And now I see replacement costs. So, Hazel has a question, so why don't we start off with Hazel and then we'll roll the conversation from there. Hazel, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I'm sure you've already done this, but I just wanted to make sure that anybody watching tonight has the minutes received all the necessary environmental approvals to proceed with the water line project?
through the chair, Councillor Martin, no, this has just been the scope of work produced to discover the amount of work that would be done. So some engineering work was done to, some geotechnical work was done on the riverbed so we could understand the composition so that we knew what we were working against. And so the work to date has all been just scope of work and what was necessary. So once we're ready to tender this out, all those environmental approvals will be attained. There's two ways we'll go about this. We will either wait until the spring or summer, not the spring, to do this work, or we can deem it an emergency and try and get it done before winter gets too serious on us. And back to the comment about burying it versus removing it or replacing it. It was never deemed to be buried just because of the location of the current line. The river has adjusted about 300 meters or 200 meters to the south, exposing the raised elevation of the current pipeline, which was originally underground. There's no means to bury it without it eventually in the future re-exposing itself.
Okay, Councillor Holiday.
I asked this before, but I don't think I got an answer, at least I don't remember it, sorry. It's happened because of erosion and we have that erosion grant. Aren't we just in essence erosion proofing it? Re-erosion proofing it? I'm just hate to spend MSI on it if we had the other grant.
DRP.
The DRP that, or someone wants to spend it on some berms, maybe we could spend it on this.
On this instead.
Yes.
Just, I'm just wondering if there's a way that it can be not reworded, but worded. We are protecting it from erosion of the river, whether it's eroded or not, at this point doesn't matter. We are protecting it for the future, and I'm hoping that that your engineering reports would have taken into account future floodings and changes of the river, so this mistake doesn't happen again, right? So is there a way to future erosion proof it and use that money?
Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Correct. Through the chair, the wording that would be in that document would indicate that the exposed line is due to erosion. I have to investigate the DRP funding. I honestly don't have an answer for that. But I can look into that as far as funding goes and see, but I think it might be a stretch. Because we do physically have to replace that line. And some of the, just so I can explain some of this a little bit too. Some of the reason we have to, some of the costs associated to this expense is the current water line runs from an old chlorine building just from the southwest corner of that Riverside Park. There's a little chlorine building, an old chlorine building, which has a pressure release valve in it, and water line splits in 3 directions. The direction that crosses the river actually goes sort of the southwest and then cuts across the river from somebody's private backyard. So at some point in past history, the town has put in a water line that comes through somebody's backyard and then across the river and up the bank. If you look into this resident's backyard, it's nicely manicured. They got a nice forested patch in the back. And for the town to come in and fix or keep the line in its same place and move forward, albeit would be a little bit cheaper, we would essentially be destroying somebody's little forest in their backyard, and I don't think that that would go over very well with the residents. So the proposal is to pull the line more to the east, up the riverbank, cross from the park into the park across the river, and then tie back into the water line. So it does raise our costs a little bit, but in the future, it gives us an appropriate access for any future maintenance on that crossing. So that's why some of this cost is a little higher.
Yeah, just another question. I know, if you remember in the past, we've talked about Bailey's not having adequate pressure, water pressure in their fire hydrants and such. Is there any way to fix that with a different size line when we're doing this project, or is that totally separate?
That's a great question, Councillor Holiday. Through the chair, no. Short answer is no. We would have to loop the line from Bailey Ridge back down to create more pressure. Right now, just the way it's been tied in, Bailey Ridge, that is, been tied in, it's going up the hill and it's just sort of its own dead end. So there's no capacity without doing a loop to create more volume or pressure.
Together, or looped at the end doesn't work, like if you're down there digging, laying two at the same time, that's not a proper loop.
Any loop, whether it's parallel or around, it would work, but we're talking several hundred meters, close to 1,000. No, it wouldn't be close to 1,000, but it would be several hundred meters of new pipe, new trench, and crossing some private property potentially.
I was just talking about the same trench if you just laid two pipes instead of one, because the pipes aren't the expensive part, it's the engineering, it's the digging up, all that work, rules and such.
Yeah, no, because the way that the branch that comes off into Bailey Ridge, it's further up towards the road, the Calta, and then it branches up that way. It doesn't happen down at the river, so we'd have to, it would be an entirely new project.
Thanks.
Maybe some schematics wouldn't hurt, but I'm gonna go to Councillor Thompson, then Councillor Martin.
I just have a comment. Don't move forward with anything until you have approval.
Well said.
That won't be an issue. Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
So when would you be able to get that work done? Like there's a certain time in the springtime that you could do it. Is that correct?
I'd have to confirm this, but generally Alberta Environment has like a 3-4 week window in August for planned work. Again, like I said earlier, we could deem this as an emergency job and we could do it tomorrow if we had the funding and crews in place. So it just depends on how we approach it. I will be conferring with our engineer to see how fast we can get this project done.
Without Alberta Environment?
No, Alberta Environment will always be part of the.
Because you said if it's an emergency, they'll give you approval a lot faster. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have sufficient information to make a motion here, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, thanks for this report and the discussion, and we'll move forward with the recommendation you given here that let's move forward with the replacement of that water line crossing the Sheep River. A question I do have on that, we have that project estimated cost, that's already been included in past budgets, correct? It's not taken from future budgets, or was it the project was approved in 2022?
Ms. Middleton.
Yeah, I can answer that question through the chair. So Councillor Gordon, we approved for $500,000 of MSI money in 2022. And now, of course, the costs have come in quite a bit higher. So we're just asking and just making the recommendation to adjust the cost as presented.
Yeah, nice, Cindy.
So just to clarify, wouldn't this just come to our capital budget discussion tomorrow and be approved as part of the whole thing, or because it was a past project, you just want it approved tonight separately from the 2024? I want to clarify.
So yeah, if I may through the chair, just to make it clean, we'd like it to be approved this evening because it won't actually physically show up on the 2024 capital plan. It's already an old project that's been allocated funds.
So if Councilor Gordon's making a motion on it, I would just double check the DRP thing, just to make me feel better. If we could add that to the motion to
Put it in there.
to
That
increase.
was gonna be my next question, like that additional 241.
Be a separate motion, no, that should be included in the same motion.
Well, I will cancel my motion. And withdraw my motion. Yes, and Cindy William.
Okay, motion is withdrawn.
I think it can be the same motion. It's that council approves the increased amount. But for the admin to report back on funding. Funding options for it.
So if I may through the chair, Councillor Holiday, I've been able to get some information that indicates that it's not covered under any of the DRP programs.
There's two flood grants. One was DRP. What was the name of the other one?
Right.
FREC. What was that? What does that stand for? Recovery. Erosion control.
Toast.
Yeah, it's way past.
Yeah. They're both toast.
Okay, all right, so, do we have well, you can still keep it as, because we're gonna need to know where the other $241,300 come. Well, there's 500 from MSI and then there's leftover. All MSI?
Be funded through MSI.
That's my question. Is the intent for this to be 100% MSI funded? There you go.
If I may through the chair, yes, the intention is for it to be 100% MSI funded.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm good with that. Cindy? It's your motion.
Water for life, no other grant opportunities or. I'm just grasping straws. Overtone's just not much money.
Yeah, no.
I'm feeling jealous.
They got an extra 16, they're up to 30 for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with the projects go forward, just. I hope we don't leave any stone unturned in finding some options. So I just want to leave it open. Yes, we've looked into, I don't even need it to come back to council. I just want admin to look into other options. We'll give you MSI if no other grant options are available. That's what I'm asking.
For you. Yep.
So.
Okay. So you're basically saying staff recommendation, move forward with the replacement of the water line crossing Sheep River.
Using MSI if no other grant funding is available.
There you go.
Got it.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear there. Find me some money. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So it's 500,000 from the 2022 MSI budget. And the 241 will come from the 2023 MSI budget.
So if I may through the chair, so Councillor Martin, how that funding works is it's a kind of a cumulative. So you keep track of it. Every year you get allotted money. We have some in the bank already, so we're technically not using 2023 MSI money. We're just using the cumulative amount that's in the MSI kind of our grant funding account.
We got about 800,000 this year.
Through the chair, we got $629,000, I believe.
All right. Any further debate? All in favor? All opposed? Seeing none, moving on. 11.3 communications plan for utility rates. Mr. LeBlanc. Floor is yours.
I will call on the colleagues, Mrs. Zero, as well as Coordinator to be able to fill in some of the blanks. What you have in front of you is essentially just an outline. This is the framework of the communication plan. This has not been released. The balance of it, which I hold in my hand, all 12 pages of it, is a backup, and it has been developed as per council's request and direction from administration. However, it wasn't released because we did not have enough information at this point in terms of council's decision. So it would be premature to have announced some of these items specific to each one of these messages had council either passed it or changed its mind on some of the items. So I'm proposing that we've drafted it. It's prepared to go according to, and would be flexible according to council's decision. All of it does definitely include, some public engagement. What that looks like from what I've heard this evening and at what point is something that would be required. But if we take a look at how this lays out at the beginning and onset, you could just drop it. I won't go through each one of these. I just want to outline. This is obviously a very tight schedule for implementation. Again, that was based on the assumption that perhaps those rates would be decided on this evening. Regardless, though, all of these are in increments of weeks. Prior to that, and what's ongoing at the moment is all the FAQs. Those have been developed to the best of our knowledge, and they're quite detailed and provide some of that background information for the public. As well, there have been some graphics that have been started on so that we're almost having a sub-brand, if you look at it that way, so that the messaging is consistent and it is recognizable to the public as they see the messages posted. Additionally, there will be the information about the household water usage and the tips for conservation. So along with the information and the announcement as to what council's decision is, then there's also going to be some information around how to save water and conserve. The early rationale was to explain the rate alignment that we're seeing for it, for the increase and what this cost recovery means. So again, some of this information comes from different partners of which we don't have permission to release that information at the moment, but we would be gathering it and hopefully being able to add a little bit more to it. And of course, the FAQs would be the whys. We also, as part of the launch, would use all of the platforms. Naturally, it would be website, social media, the signboards, utility bill newsletter, the mayor's message. The announcement also of an open house that is recommended. It had been presented by Councillors Martin and Thompson that a moderator and potentially a consultant be involved. Certainly, we do agree that if there was a moderator, just to be able to help facilitate the meeting. However, it would be council's responsibility, as well as staff supporting that, to be able to provide information to the public at public engagement meetings. So some of that would really have to be worked out in terms of ensuring that we're prepared to answer all of those questions. So again,
Let me ask council if they have any questions for you, just so we can speed along. Councillor Clever.
So back to my question from 10.2, let's pretend council has picked the rates. How soon can you deploy this information package? How much time do you need to flesh it out, finish it up?
Good question.
the initial. Let me see the original schedule. Initially, week 1 was October 30th to November 5th. All of it, the information we could gathered and prepared ahead of that time.
That's still correct.
If there was a decision made this evening.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hawley.
I have a bit of a concern about combining water conservation issues with this, because in reality, they don't make a difference. Because we are really good at conserving water in our community. And the difference to your bill would be so minimal, because the fixed charges are such a huge portion of the bill. that, you know, somebody using 20, if they really conserve and get down to 18 or something, it's gonna make like a $10 difference, right? Like, it's nothing. Plus, if you look at the fact that we actually need more water going through our system to help our sewer dioxide use, right? Because we have overstream sewage. So, you know, I don't agree with having conservation, because I don't think it will make a huge effect on people's bills, and everyone is doing so great. And I think we could, I don't wanna sell people, oh yeah, your rates are gonna go up, but oh yeah, you can, you know, be really stingy, even stingier than you already are, even though we're way less than the Canadian average. And, you know, save $10, right? I don't think it's the right. That would be my concern. And plus, if everybody uses less, we still have all of our overhead charges, and we just have to increase the rate the next year because people are using less, but we still have all the same costs we have to cover. Right? So I think these need to be different. I mean, I guess in the fact that if, you know, watering your lawns, you know, when people are over watering their lawns, that's where it's going to make the difference. But I've just heard, you know, knocking doors last election, you know, people still like, oh, I don't have, you know, an old guy telling me he doesn't have company over because he's conserving water and they might need a shower. Like, I'm serious, like, that's sad. And that's not how I want residents to have to live, right? So, yeah, I don't know. That's nitpicking, and I hate to nitpick on something, but I think we need to stick to straight budget. And like I said before, like, I know we have the numbers, like, it's, you know, people in Turner Valley that were paying like $900 and some are now gonna be paying $1,500 a year at the end of it. But how much is it per year going up? What does it look like over 3 years? What if we did it more? Those kind of, and then newspaper articles saying this is exactly what it's gonna do for, you know, the Turner Valley side residents and the Black Diamond side residents. And we might hear, like, people might say, yeah, rates are going up, and we hear nothing from people, and or we might hear a lot. And I can't even gauge whether we're gonna hear a little bit, like our berm open house, or if we're gonna hear a really big lot. And I think it depends on getting those initial numbers of exactly what it looks for the average household out there in an easy to understand format. Like, we know it because we're council and you guys are admin, and I think sometimes we get really stuck in it that we understand it, but making it fit for public consumption. And I think people need to just see the bottom line of this is how much per year or per month or per billing cycle each year it's going to be going up for the average household. That's really the key number that people want to hear. And I think getting that out there. So, because it's there, like, it is there sort of in the slides, and it's really good information for us, but it's not great for the average resident yet. And I know you guys can do it. So.
I do have Councillor Thompson, but I'm gonna go to Lisa down here first.
Oh, just looking for clarification. So when you say to get that information out there, are you asking administration to get that information out there using the proposed rates? So this is the clarity that I'm not getting.
I don't personally, if it's full cost recovery, the numbers are the numbers, that's the number we have to get to.
Yeah.
So for me, I just want it publicly out there. So what it's gonna look like for the average person. I'm not arguing the numbers, I'm fine with the numbers. I'm right, like, I fully approve going to full cost recovery, whether it's over 3 years. My only question is whether it's 3 or if it's 4, or maybe even 5, if it's really that, if residents really cared about it. But if we hear nothing and everyone's fine with it, I'm happy to do it over 3, right? I'm not arguing the numbers at all. And I think we've already said we were happy with the one rate.
Okay.
Right? Like,
so would you like me to bring back that 3? I have it done, actually. I mean, I have it all done. It's that 3-year rate. Is that what you're looking for? Like, this will be what residents will have over 3 years? Is that?
Yeah, if you live on Turner Valley side, this is what you probably spend on average per month if you're a regular household. and this is what you're going to be over the next 3 years, this is what it's gonna go up to. And have that for both towns, because it is different for both
It's
towns.
very different, yes.
And having that out in the public so they know exactly what we're talking about. And I would like it before we make the decision.
That's where the open house comes in.
Yeah, but a newspaper would cover this easy enough. Like, it's like a little chart, it's very simple. We have all the nuts and bolts of why we're getting there, but people care about the bottom line, what's it gonna look like on their bill, right? That's all they care about.
So just to cut you off, Cindy, because Heather wants to talk, would we, one, not do exactly what you're saying? We would begin it off, we'd have a newsletter that says, in the mayor's message,
Start it right now.
open house
Start it right
coming
now.
up, and we're gonna tell you, well, I'm not gonna tell you, we're gonna ask you your opinion.
No, we're going to just provide education.
So then, well, as a council, this is where I have a bit of an issue, because to me, when I see this, it looks like we are going to implement full cost recovery, and it's happening this year, and now my bill doubles. Or is it 3 year, or is it 4 year, or is it 5 year? As she said, which you have the information, that's what I want as a council to know. Have we decided on 3, 4, or 5 year implementation? Or are we ready to pull the trigger on one? And I think that's where the public open house and getting the public to actually say, yeah, we see where you're going, we agree, this is inevitable, however, 3 year, 4 year, or 5 year may be required. And we'd appreciate it if you didn't just slam us in 1 year. That's the question that I would like to have as a council, because we know that the numbers are accurate. We know we need to get there. It's how first, 3, 4, or 5 years. Now, let's talk messaging. So have we, as a council, does anyone know? I'm asking clearly. Are we agreed on a 1 year, a 3, a 4, or a 5?
I just,
Lisa,
just again, to offer clarity, these numbers that were attached are the 3-year phased in. So this is year 1 of 3 years with the exact methodology we proposed with the offsetting of $200,000, $150,000 and $100,000. So these rates were assuming the 3-year phased in model.
It start in January 2024.
so that would start, the question is, would that start in January of 2024?
It would if we can get the bylaw passed before January 1st.
Okay,
And then is there a different rate coming in 2025?
Yes, and what administration is proposing is to review the rates annually to make sure we stay on track and we don't have another,
Yes.
several years gap and have to catch up. But with that offsetting from the fixed fees for the 3 years.
So are you looking at, and I know are you looking at, say, a 5% each increase each year or?
no, that's why. we-
No, I don't want to answer that with, but I do have the math all done, but I mean, we're also looking at population estimates and inflation estimates coming from our other parties. So it's obviously estimated for 25 and 26.
I gotta get to Heather. Heather.
Yeah, I'm still of the opinion that we need to do some communications before we pass the utility rate. I just see it going sideways. We've been talking so much about misinformation getting out there on Facebook and everything, and it's just sometimes like, I can't even respond because it's so out there that, and where it came from is beyond me, and I just don't want that again with the utility rates. I think going full cost recovery like this, it's a big deal. And to me, it's a big deal. Now, maybe the public won't give a hoot, but we need to communicate and get some communications out there and simple educations. Why are we doing it? Like, why are we going to full cost recovery? Like, it's again, like, can you explain it to someone?
Exactly, right?
Can you?
I could, but I'm not gonna do it as refined as what a proper community messaging system is gonna do. Right? I want us all on the same page, so when we get cornered at AG, and we will, and you know it, that we are all relaying the same information effectively and clean.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with Cindy in terms of we gotta get it in the paper and put the numbers in there. Councilor Holiday.
And sorry, and Can I finish?
Yeah, sure.
And I totally think, I'm totally for this. I totally agree with the rates and the 3 years I'm fine with. But again, I would say that, you know, maybe that would be something that the public could maybe participate in, as giving their opinion on that, but I think that the public communication should be simply education. Like, these rates are what it's gonna take to get us to full cost recovery, and we need to get there so that we can support our infrastructure. But the general public needs to know that when you've got people that don't have a clue why we're charging so much money for sewer because, oh, it's different. Well, no, do you know what you put down your drain? It's not just water that has to be treated, right? So, yeah, so anyway, I just am really strongly wanting to have some of the communications plan out before I pass utility rates.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holiday and then Clifford.
Yeah. I think, so on our September 20th agenda, you had like the orange, I don't know if you remember all your tables, the orange one, okay? So are you saying, because this is where it's important that council knows it all, that the DV1 rate FCR phased is actually the first year numbers?
No, so those were different proposed models that council could have selected from.
All right, and so the one we picked was the
Rates.
the DV full cost recovery one rate.
Phased in.
Oh, phase, so FCR phase 1483, is that the end of the 3-year number, or is that the first year? So we don't actually have the numbers on that chart doesn't actually show you what the second and third year look
No,
like.
it does not.
So that's a jump from $973 a year to $1483
Correct.
in 1 year, so that's $500. Yeah, 500. Our problem really, and this chart outlines it, is that you have Okotoks and Nanton and High River all paying $500 to $800 a year. And we're going from 973 up to 14. That first year jump is huge. Right? And if we don't even know what the second year jump is and the third year jump, right? Like,
Just gonna pull it.
yeah, pull it up for everybody.
Get it up on the screen.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that we didn't include this again in the, because we just had the 2-pager on this agenda. We should have had this one again.
Those second and third rates were not included.
The second and third year rates aren't included.
No.
See, I had thought that was full cost. I didn't realize that was the first year until you said it tonight. And I know I missed the first, there was a meeting in, I think, summertime that I missed, so part of it might have been due to that. I think, yeah.
So
Go ahead, Ms. Middleton, and I have Councillor Clark.
if I may, through the chair, to address Councillor Holiday's concerns with the single rate for 1 year. When we work on the budget, the intention is always that you're doing that look at and kind of seeing what the prior year's costs are in order to determine what your next year's costs might be. So we have not increased the rates in either community in some time. In fact, in this side, in Turner Valley, we haven't increased it since 2020. Was the last time we increased the rates. Plus, we're seeing some significant infrastructure development, which is, you know, there is a cost to that infrastructure as well. In the Black Diamond side, they haven't increased their rates in quite some time either. So whether we do this as a phased in approach, which what we're recommending here, at some, if we determine that we don't want to use full cost recovery, we can determine we don't want to use full cost recovery, and we can adjust it as required. We just need some direction on what we need to advertise and what we want the communication messaging to look like. Administration just needs some direction.
It's page 74, that agenda, that helps. 74 of 92 is the table that I'm referencing, and I thought that was the end of the 3, and so we'd be gradually working up to 1,400, not that 1,400 was the first year.
That is the first year with $200,000 offsetting both water and sewer consumption from your capital.
Heather, you want to fill in? Or sorry, no, sorry. Councilor Glover had, sorry, Councilor Glover had to work. Heather, that's her. She's been waiting forever. Councilor Glover.
Sorry. I'd like to make a motion.
Oh,
If Vernon's available to take notes. Whenever you're ready for. I'd like to read council directs administration to complete the proposed utility rate alignment and increased communication plan using the rates outlined in tonight's agenda, action item 10.1. There's more. You're ready. Communication plan to include charts depicting full cost recovery phased over 3 years, including subsidies taken from taxes.
Sorry, could you backtrack a little to include?
Subsidy taken from taxes.
Taken from taxes?
You might not want to include this part, but no other options should be presented to the public. Just this one. Otherwise, there will be charts everywhere and it will not go well. Just this option. Feedback we obtain will then dictate if they want more charts.
Excellent.
You're welcome.
Everyone heard the motion. We'll have Verna read it back shortly. And, the floor.
Feel free to edit as we run, please.
You don't have to do those last 2 sentences.
I got that
No more
one. The council direct administration to complete the proposed communications plan using the proposed rates from item 10.1. And the communication plan to include details on subsidies taken from taxes, and no other options should be presented to the public.
I want to rephrase that.
It's dropped.
Yeah, no other
Scenario.
proposed scenarios. Just the 3-year full cost recovery with the rates from 10.1. Don't want comparisons unless you can guarantee that Okotoks, Manton and High River are not doing full cost recovery. If they are doing full cost recovery, that's great. I want to hear from them because their bill is going to be $2,000 a year.
It's good. Anything being subsidized isn't apples to apples. Love it. Okay, the motion is made. The floor is open. Heather can now have it, and then I have Councilor Gordon.
I was gonna speak to that, like Okotoks, High River rates and stuff. High River being the lowest rate for in southern Alberta. But what the public doesn't understand is High River sells their water to Cargill, who is a huge water user. So Cargill is subsidizing those utility rates. And that's what the public doesn't know. You know, they see those kind of charts and stuff and they go, oh, well, High River's way bigger than us. How come they're, you know? So that's how come I think we have to be really, really good in our communication. Because, you know, it's, you can't compare apples to apples quite often because you don't, like, I found that out when we were at our Alberta Munis. I was talking to one of the counselors that, up there, and they said, yeah, no, our water's fully subsidized by Cargill. So there we go.
Excellent. Councilor Gordon and Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just a question regarding the motion, just for clarity, because we have been a little bit confused on the table here. The model that Councilor Glover has talked about with the 3-year phased in, using today's rates, we'll see what the complete phase in will be in 3 years' time. Just for complete clarity. That's understood? Because that's really what I think will be central here is, hey, great, $1,400, $500 this year, but is that another $500 next year? Is that another $500 in 3 years' time? I think that needs to be well communicated this year.
Yes, part of the communication plan, I assumed, I haven't seen it yet, is we would be comparing Black Diamond rates now, Black Diamond rates next year. And so on and so forth. Correct? Yes, I agree. This is what we were presented two meetings ago, so I'm just going on the assumption that's what will be presented to the public.
Excellent. Deputy Mayor?
When is this gonna be released? I just, yes, I would. I'd like it to go out as soon as possible so that we can approve that. So I'm just looking for clarity if we. So we're,
It's not going to the public. It's coming to us. And then they say, yes, this is where the. Just for clarity.
Administration said they could have it done tomorrow. If we gave them the information they received. So tomorrow's already a long meeting. Don't really want it to.
I didn't hear administration.
I don't think that's but Verna, go ahead.
Just for clarity, tomorrow's meeting is a committee of the whole meeting. So there will be no motions made.
Still don't want to see it tomorrow. It's gonna be too.
But I believe that Ms. LeBlanc is actually looking for her plan to be approved tonight.
I love the plan. But I don't want it done before the utility rate, but I think we should be using that right now.
without approving the utility rates.
Without approving
Yeah,
the
Right, okay,
utility
yeah,
rates.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Where we were
Well,
getting.
we're gonna propose, we're using the proposed utility rates. to manage the plan.
Utility rates, all fine with them.
Okay.
We need to do some communicating.
Thank you. If I could just summarize my hearing, then what we're essentially doing is leading up to public engagement. We're preparing the public for that information. So it means that we'll be presenting scenarios, being able to summarize tonight's discussion, if you will, talking about the reasons for it, look at the FAQs, so we'll back that up. But with the assumption that there's still that next step in terms of public engagement, it's not been decided as yet. Am I clear on that? And when does council expect to be able to make a decision? If we think that there would be probably a need for at least a couple of weeks of public engagement, we'll delay things a little bit.
Like to see it in 2 weeks. So then council can say, okay, this is what we wanted to have the conversation on, and then we can approve it.
The next day.
That's my thought. I'm gonna come, Sir Gordon.
So I'm gonna revert back to the presentation on September 20th, Lisa, if I may, through the chair. On slide 76, it says proposed rates, full cost recovery. And it has the same amount for fixed that we have in today's rates of 44.94 residential. I'm just going with that first one. Same amount for stormwater fixed charge of 10.05. But the water consumption rate on full cost recovery is 380 and the sewer consumption is 463. And then today's rates, the water consumption was 327 and the sewer consumption was 410. So basically a difference, my math is really quick, about 20 between the two. Why then is our first year so high when all the gap remaining is quite narrow? Why wouldn't we spread it equally over 3 years?
I see what you're asking. So what we did to offset that was take a certain amount from those fixed charges that are meant for capital to offset consumption. So those flat charges that I have not proposed to be changed over the 3 years stay the same. So that entire amount is meant for capital. So we're offsetting that consumption rate using those fixed charges. So what you're suggesting is we would have to offset using more from capital.
I'm not sure if I'm proposing it, but when I read that and see the full cost recovery being 380, when the proposal for the first year of phase one is only 327.
Yes.
You know, that 53-cent difference and then 70-cent difference on the sewer. So I wasn't too far off, about 23. I just think it's a hard pill to swallow for our residents to have that front load to be so high. when the second and third year will be quite minimal in comparison. So could we not offset that in a different way? Just, I don't know the answer. I'm asking the expert here.
I mean, the option to offset it is to take more from capital and offset to operate, move it to operations. So that consumption rate, I guess the plan is to have your consumption rate cover operations and those fixed charges cover off capital for, you know, for the future. So I mean, you could choose to offset more, but then you're going to be putting less in reserves.
But that's what needs to be in the communication piece. That needs to be crystal clear with the plans.
Meaning that the
I got you.
consumption rate covers operations and the other piece is that which you're, okay, yeah.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, this has been good conversation. So you're saying when you talked about a phased in plan, that was the accounting between capital and operating was going to be phased in. There was never a phase in of rates over 3 years of going from where we are now to where we need to go. There was never a phased in plan there. It was merely the accounting, our side was being phased, the capital
So the
operating.
consumption rate would be phased in, which is people's variable, right? I mean, yeah.
But the fixed rates, that's why it's such a hard hit. So it's, okay, that,
Deputy Mayor.
all right, now we're on the same page.
We still have a motion on the floor, but I'm just curious, just with Monique sitting here, are we at a line by allowing the communications team to start with the proposed numbers this week and then we get feedback before we vote on the rates? Like, can we not say, Monique, release this information, start getting feedback, and in 2 weeks' time, we're gonna vote on the proposed rates. And if we don't hear a lot from the community, then we can vote on them in 2 weeks' time, and we've had 2 weeks of communication with the public. But if we hear a lot, we would get that information back, and then we may have to delay. Just a thought.
I'll open it up for Corinne and Mike. You can stick handle it.
Well, if I may through the chair, I want to make sure that administration has the appropriate time they need to do the communication, more importantly, and to do it right. If we're going to do this, we want to make sure that our messaging is spot on and that we do an effective job. So I am going to ask my colleague, Ms. LeBlanc, how tight can she work with timelines? And then our other thing that we need to consider is, can we get that bylaw passed by the end of the year? Because now as we come into almost the last week of October, if we do 2 weeks and then we determine that we can move the rate to what we want or looking like directing over to full cost recovery, we'd still probably want to have maybe a public open house in that timeline after we get feedback from residents and perhaps after council approves the rates. Maybe that next step is that public open house, but I really want to ensure that administration has the time and the bandwidth to do this, because we're also knee deep into budget season. And so there's a lot of moving parts in the next, 5 to 6 weeks. So I'm going to divert maybe back to Ms. LeBlanc and see what her viewpoint might be on this issue.
Thank you. Through the chair. It's a priority, so certainly we would be full on and paying attention to this along with other priorities that we have as well. But for proper implementation, you have to also have an instrument by which to collect the feedback. If it's going to be launched at this point where it's information, there has to be a funneling point whereby you're collecting some of the information that is generally, being directed to staff. So it would be something where we have to coordinate very, very closely with Lisa and with her team to be able to ensure that we can compile some of that. We also may have to look at something such as a survey if people aren't able to attend a public meeting. There has to be a way for people to be able to express their feelings on this and to also direct questions without them being guiding in any way. So how do we keep that? And that's gonna take a little bit of time just to think about and do properly, which I would say within the next week. We have a lot of research done. I think we can compile it quite quickly. Prepare the media release. We will get it into the papers. I'm sure that some of it would be, or into the media. I'm sure some of it would be covered just for anybody who's watching the council meeting. So realistically, it will be a hard push, but I have to take a closer look at what kind of timelines and walk it back from what is needed. If it's a January 1st, what's the very minimum amount of time that the bylaw would have to be in front of council?
Okay, Councilor Court.
I think we need to have, give the public opportunity to see our faces. We need to have a public open house. We have to take our lumps because that's the job. And I'm okay if I know everything sort of supposed to mesh together with budget January 1, but if it takes till March 1st to implement, then it just does.
Councilor Holiday, and then let's get to the vote.
If you pull up 7492, that orange table, and that is that September's agenda.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So which line is the one? Sorry. That we're working off of, which number?
One rate, full cost recovery phased. So your fourth one down, Diamond Valley, fourth one down.
All right, so that is first year, it's going to jump up on the Turner Valley side, $500.
Yeah.
The first year. So you understand my issue that I thought that was in 3 years where it was gonna be, so we'd be up $150, $200 each year.
No.
Right? Cause I don't think I need public consultation to know that $500 is a huge increase and it's not gonna fly. Right?
And
I don't even pay water rates and I would be mad.
If I may speak, I would want to caution about using our three. Like what I'm hearing is you want me to put out the 3-year plan, but if we're planning on evaluating this annually to make sure that we're full cost recovery, and that's part of the reason it didn't go out in this presentation. I would caution on that because we may not be able to stick to those rates and be full cost recovery. I mean, optimistically, they could go down if we see population increase, or I don't know, but I just think that, so in my math, like I said, I've used population increase, I've used inflation for our requisition amounts, but there is that risk of putting that 3-year out there if we can't meet those numbers and stay full cost recovery.
But there's not even, the 3-year phase doesn't even, that's an accounting thing and a budgeting thing on our side. That's nothing to do with the public. They're not. It's not really being phased if we're jumping up 500 in 1 year.
That's not a phase.
That's not a phase.
That's a kick in the teeth.
Yeah,
right?
But this was always the fact.
We knew this was coming down.
We took so much heat on Black Diamond side for tax increases.
Yeah.
So
You guys
I'm
hold your taxes.
sorry, it's Turner Valley's term.
This is.
$80.
We thought we were full cost recovery too for the longest time, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no way.
like,
Yeah, you guys had a lower tax rate by a higher utility rate. We were exactly the same. Like there was no difference, but neither of us were charging what we should have. It's you guys had an increase in your tax rate to match ours. Now this year, it should have been a Turner Valley increase in utility rates to match Black Diamonds, which I had thought we were gonna do it phasing in, but there is no phase in. It's a $500 jump.
There's no phase for tax.
If I may, through
Yeah.
the chair.
yes, and then I'm gonna go to Councilor Gordon.
So we have a number of factors that we have to consider when we're increasing our utility rates. We don't have to go full cost recovery. You can direct administration to not put as much money away in infrastructure. We have a brand new facility that's going to be up and operational in the next few years, a brand new lagoon. If we don't want to put the money back into reserves to fund the next round of that development, we don't have. It's council's decision. The rates can be what they can be. We don't have to put all of the fixed fees into reserves. We can put nothing. We can put $10. We can do whatever we're directed to do. What we were directed to do is to determine what full cost recovery would look like, and this is what it looks like. The phased in approach, there's no phased in approach. This is what it costs to run our utilities. Our phased in approach is we're not going to put $200,000 into Infrastructure, next year, we're gonna put it back into the rates. The next following year, we're only gonna put $150,000, but that's reflected in these rates. So administration just needs direction on what council wants us to do.
That is the bluntness that I wanted, so thank you. That's literally the bluntness that I wanted. Next time I'm just gonna say, "Oh, can you be blunt, please?"
Motion on the table.
Motion's on the table. I'm gonna go to Cindy and we can get on to this vote soon.
I'm fine with the motion, but I think there needs to be a phased in. I don't think we can jump at $500 in the first year. I think it needs to be half that at the, would be my opinion. That would get us slightly over where Black Diamond already is. And not a big kick in the teeth. $500 is a lot over 6 bills. That's a big difference. I had thought, so I apologize that I was not on the same page with administration. I thought phased in 3 years meant that we were going up to those numbers. I didn't understand it, so I apologize for that. And I'm happy with the numbers. I had just thought it was gonna be over 3 years. So yeah, there needs to be a phasing. I would be okay. Black Diamond's at, you know, for 20 cubic meters, which is kind of your average house at 1129, and we're at 973. So if we bumped it up, so we were in that $1,300 range the first year, and then up to the $1,500 range the next year, I think that would be more passable. To go from 973 up to 50, you know, up $500. The Black Diamond tax increase last year on the Black Diamond side was not in the $500 range. I don't think for the average house. I think it was, well, big.
Can I say that?
We should more.
That's gonna be my comment, actually. So. This is gonna be my comment, picking up on what Councillor Holiday. I had several people in Black Diamond after the mill rate was increased, based on their assessments, that their increase was significantly higher than $500 a year. Significantly, average Black Diamond, regardless of where they live, was significantly more. In fact, Councillor Kelly and Councillor Clover and Councillor Thompson can attest to the significant massive increase. I had residents telling me that they were seeing an increase closer to $2,000. And they were gobsmacked. And so I'm gonna make this comment, and I do not mean to step on anyone's toes. We're Diamond Valley. We leveled up taxes last year for one rate for the community. I am fully supportive of full cost recovery, and if that's the route we're going to do, let's level it up in 1 year. It's $380 for residential and $463 sewer consumption. It's significant, but we didn't have this debate when we were leveling up the mill rate. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We were quiet about it. We did not recognize in public the burden that our Black Diamond side would face.
Or did we have consultation or?
No, it was done. And the next day I had residents calling me, showing me emailing me their difference of their mill rate and the taxes from 1 year over the next. And I was like, yeah, that's a council decision. We need to level up. We need to level up our cost recovery. If that's the choice we're going to make, that's a tough pill to swallow. I'm looking at my bill going up, $700 a year. I had residents telling me they were $1,200 to $1,500 a year last year, some even beyond that. So it's a tough choice that council has to make. Do we want to go full cost recovery? Or do we want to continue subsidizing it to a leveled up property tax? That's the choice.
Well said. Again, thank you for your bluntness. We have a motion. I gotta go to Heather down here, and then we're gonna call this vote.
Right, I totally agree, Councilor Gordon. I believe that we need to go there, full cost recovery. We all basically said that at the last meeting. And really, the reality is that $500 a year for an average home is like $82 every 2 billing periods. So, yeah, some people might be affected by it, but I think we need to go to full cost recovery. Again, we have to go to full cost recovery and we have to communicate why. Like your taxes are, those high taxes are subsidizing your utility rate. So I don't know, like I just I'm not prepared to pass the utility rates tonight, but I would like the communication plan to start moving forward.
Okay, well, we have a motion regarding the communication plan in place. We'll get that read back one more time, and then I will make a wrap-up statement, and we will,
If I,
great debate.
if I could, I'd like to suggest one very small change. Just to the item number that I reflected, because it'll have to go, we moved that item to 11.4,
Okay.
and that decision has yet to be made, so.
Just remove 10.1 entirely and say the rates that were presented at today's meeting.
Proposed.
Yes, I have the word proposed in here. Yes, that might be able to make things work a little better. So the council direct administration to complete the proposed communications plan using the proposed rates presented on the October 18th agenda. Go. With the communications plan to include details on subsidies taken from taxes, and no other proposed scenarios should be presented to the public.
Remove that.
All right. Done.
Subsidies coming in. All right, great debate.
This is the 3-year phased in. That's
This is
what,
Yeah.
that's what was presented to us.
So fantastic debate, ladies and gentlemen. There's no question, it's a hard decision, but I totally can recall last year's budget. And you're right, we knew that this day was coming. It's equivalent to $1.50 a day extra on your utility bill. So yeah, after 60 days, there's $80. So that's my bag of chips tonight, I guess. That's my Timmy's, one of my 12 a day. I don't get to have. So it's really, you know, you gotta put it in perspective. What is it? It's $1.50 a day extra to get the full cost recovery. Yes, it's difficult for some people, but it's a reality that we have to live in. Costs of everything have gone up. So we have a motion to move forward, get some information and start this process. All in favor? All opposed? Very good. That is carried. Thank you. All right. We are done with that one. So 10.1 essentially is finished with that same. When that comes back, then we're gonna finalize that. The 10.1, asking for an approval on that utility rate. It's not
It's 11.4.
11.4 now.
It is.
It's not on the floor until, it's not on the floor until,
Now.
Now.
you would like it on the floor now? All right, 11.4.
Can I just be clear, are you asking for that 3-year rate to go out to the public? No, just the 1 year, correct?
Just the one.
using the 3-year rate.
Yes,
The
okay,
3-year
okay, thank
phase
you. I just want to be very clear, so I'm doing the right thing.
Do you want another motion?
Nope,
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding, because at first I heard put out the 3 years to the public, and then we took, so I just wanted
3
to make
years
sure
phased in.
that
Plan.
we're only going to do the one.
First year's
Yeah.
numbers.
Well, we have 10.1 was the request for the 2024 utility rates approval. Which we postponed until this discussion at 11.3. Which we just approved the communication plan. So now we can, under 11.4, Verna says, just call it 11.4. Which is the 10.1, the request for the 2024 utility rates approval, which is Lisa's original document that she supplied. So if we're gonna move forward, drop the hammer. Heather?
I want to double check this with Verna because I know we talked about it. So can I say that council decline approval of the utility rates until the communication plan is initiated?
Make any motion,
Or
make an alternative motion.
that's what I'm asking Verna, is because it's declining. It's not a positive motion.
We could just table.
You can. Can I make a suggestion? That you propose for the purposes of communication, the rates as presented. Does that settle it? That it's not indicating they're approved,
Sure, is that.
because they're not approved until you pass them in the bylaw anyway.
Yeah.
That's a great motion. Yeah.
Does that work for you?
For me.
What did I say?
Thank you, Brenda. I just didn't know how to.
Positive, negative? Is there positive, negative in there?
Yeah, positive, negative in there.
Propose for
That's
purposes
exactly
of
what it was.
communication.
Hazel.
This is just more of a question on the rates. Can you please clarify why non-residential rates for 1 inch and 2 inch sizes are cheaper compared to the residential rates?
Yes, I can. That has to do with the residential properties that are servicing multiple properties. So we are not collecting, 40 flat charges. We're collecting one.
Like
So-
at the trailer court?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Heather, are you making a motion?
Yep, I did. Can you read it back to me?
Backwards?
I can, yes. The council proposed for the purposes of communications, the rates as presented.
Love it. Excellent. Heather makes that motion. Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, that was carried. And let me see. Admin inquiries, you have the answers in your document. If you don't have any follow-up questions, I would ask for a motion to accept the correspondence of admin inquiries and responses.
Can I ask?
Sure, that's what I just said. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So on my admin inquiry, I am asking for council's permission to put forward 2 separate motions on the table for a discussion to address my administrative inquiry. I also have a copy of the motions for Verna since they are more than 25 words in length.
I'm confused. So you,
Do I not have to ask to put 2 motions on the table?
Well, those are notice of motions, really.
You can.
yeah, like, is it pertaining to, do you just want to ask a question?
No, what I'd like to see is that letters go out to the residents of Main Street, Edward Avenue, and Anderson Crescent regarding the 515 Morrison Street proposed development.
Okay, you can make that motion, sure.
I move that council direct administration to send out letters to residents residing on Main Street, Edward Avenue, and Anderson Crescent, informing them of the upcoming public hearing scheduled for November 1st to redesignate 515 Morrison Street from R1 single detached district to R3 residential multi-unit district.
Okay, motion on the floor. Discussion. Cindy.
Yeah, I thought at the time that we had discussed that it would happen, but then there's confusion, it wasn't, but I think we had talked about making it just adjacent landowners initially.
Yes, that's correct.
Can we add the word adjacent? Landowners to the property, not everybody on Main Street.
Yeah,
Right, just
Yeah.
adjacent.
yes, that's all.
I'd be fine with
Adjacent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All in favor? Yeah. Yeah. All opposed? That's carried. Okay, second one.
And I move that council direct administration to provide a notice of public hearing for bylaw 2023-27 to advertise a notice for 2 weeks in the Western Wheel as per the advertising bylaw. 2023-12.
They do it.
They know you can do it a minimum 1 week. Whereas we did in April, we did for 2 weeks. When we had when we did a public hearing for a bylaw.
So it's in today's. Right? It's in
Yeah.
today's.
And then next week. The 25th.
Discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
What's the cost of that extra week? Just so that I know, like, how much does it cost to put it in the $500?
A minimum of 5.
Minimum
Say a
of 5.
minimum of 5.
Okay, thank you. I would simply say this, I'll take floor. It's not like the whole street knows. Everybody in that area right now knows. So I don't know why we would go again and spend more money when everybody knows and we're gonna send them personalized letters. So for me, 1 week is good. It meets the bylaw requirement. We're now sending letters, which is outside the scope of the requirement of the bylaw. And if anything, that shows that we're over communicating. So I'm quite fine leaving it as is, and saving the $500. The comments. And I will call the vote if no other comments. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, that one fails. Defeated. And that wraps up correspondence, none. Motions, no, some motions closed. We gotta go and close. Let's take a 5-minute recess. Thank you, Councillor Merton, for bringing those extra motions to the table. We'll take 5 minutes, guys, and then we're going to vote. I give us a motion to go at 9:06. All in favor? We're gonna move into closed for personnel and quit section 24.
So I think.
17 and 24 both. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan as presented.
I will accept that motion. Now I'll lay it to the table. All in favor? Get her done. Thank you. And I will make a motion.
Yeah.
And that's as of October 21st, the town of Diamond Valley Council points. Oh, look at that. I was making it up.
I know.
The council appoints Todd Sharp as the chief administrative officer for the town of Diamond Valley effective October 21st, 2023.
Don't you have
That's-
a term?
that's-
Don't you have that intern?
Peter.
You don't, it's not a requirement. You can, you don't have to.
I think you would be better if you had.
No, that's fine. We should.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will add intern.
Advertising. Yeah, you don't want people thinking that he's circling back. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep,
if people
no,
actually-
That's a friendly amendment. It's fantastic. All right, everyone clear on the motion?
Yep.
Excellent. All in favor? And that is all vote. Just kidding.
Well, you know what?
That was good. Okay, we're adjourned.